We're finally doing it. Today we are going to be producing a K-pop song from start to finish in the style of artists such as NCT 127, BTS, EXO, Lisa, and any of those other K-pop artists who take a lot of influence from Western hip-hop. I'm super excited to dive in. Here is a quick preview of what we're making in this tutorial today.
I got the Bentley, it's a coupe. I got the blue and white Nikes with the Louis V stamp, throwing money out the roof. I'm throwing dollars. If you need me, you can find me in the VIP.
What's up, Austin here from Make Pop Music. We are going to be going over how to make a K-pop song today, and I'm super excited to dive into all of that. But before we do, I have a couple of really quick announcements. The first is that we are releasing our first ever Vital preset pack today, March 31st. The pack is called Synergy. It includes 200 presets that we've built from the ground up that do work on the free version of Vital. So as long as your computer is able to open up Vital and run that, you should be able to use all of these presets no problem. These are really great for genres such as pop, electronic, hip-hop, R&B, and K-pop. We're going to be using a lot of them today. If you want to check out our Vital preset pack Synergy, you can actually head over to our website, makepopmusic.com, and check it out today. The pack is normally $40, but we're actually running it for $30 right now because of our second announcement. And our second announcement is that our entire store right now is 25% off for our spring sale. We're going to be running the sale until April 10th, so if you want to check out any of the stuff we have on our store, we have tons of samples, presets, MIDI packs, we have a start to finish production course. All of that is 25% off and will be until April 10th. This is the last sale that we're gonna run until Black Friday, and it's the only time that you'll be able to get a store-wide sale until then. So if you wanna support the channel and if you wanna grab some amazing tools for yourself as a producer or a mixer or a songwriter, head over to makepopmusic.com after this tutorial and check all that out. Support the spring sale. Supporting us over there helps us make videos like this every single week. Let's dive in and let's make a K-pop song. I wanna start this song off. I kind of already have a quick idea in my head of what I want as like a lead melodic element. So we're gonna be working at 105 BPM. And what I kind of have in my head is this thing that I've heard in K-pop, specifically the subgenre that we're going to be working in a ton. And it's kind of this like glidey bass lead. So it sounds like this. I've just got this 808 preset up and I've actually turned it up a couple octaves, and it'll go something like this. All right, so let's track that out. Let's get that all MIDI'd out, and then we'll build it from there. Okay, so this is gonna be our melodic lead for most of the song. It's a really simple pattern. It's just got a nice little kind of like movement to it, and we are in G sharp minor. So let's check it out. And what I wanted to do is I wanted it to glide up. So this is actually a monophonic synth lead. So what I've done is I've just kind of put this an octave down, and it's just gonna slide right up. And the reason it's doing that is because on our synth, we actually have a setting right here called glide. So it's just gliding up. It's a really simple tool, but it's something that I hear a lot in K-pop. The next thing I want to do is start adding some snaps just to get some movement. We're going to kind of flesh out the skeleton of the verse, and then we're going to kind of move on to a pre-chorus and a chorus. One thing about K-pop is that the verse feels like a song, the pre-chorus feels like a song, and the chorus normally feels like a song, but they're all pretty different. There's not going to be a lot of looping from section to section in this. Let's take a look at the snaps. What I've done is I've just pulled in a bunch of different snaps from different Make Pop music packs that we have on our website. So I've got snap 2 that's going to be kind of my lead snap. You can see that this happens on the 2 and the 4 of every single measure. And then what we're doing is we're alternating between the snap 4 and snap 6 just to add some variation. So snap 4 will happen on the 2 and snap 6 will happen on the 4. And we've layered that over with that main snap just to give us kind of some realism. So now with that bass, we've got a nice little bit of movement. It's already sounding like a K-pop song to me. Now I think we need to add some kicks, maybe some hi-hats, and a little bit of extra kind of melodic sauce just to kind of make it not so stale. All right, so what I want to do for this verse is I want a kick in there, and I kind of want some more aggressive snaps and some hats just to kind of make this feel like that K-pop meets hip-hop style that we're kind of working in. So I've just dragged in a kick right here, just doing kind of a syncopated pattern, and then I've got a couple different hats happening. Let me go ahead and show you what's happening with these because I find it a bit more interesting. So we've got kind of this steady hat right here that I've just used with a sampler and Cubase. Just alternating hard and soft hits, and then we've got this extra hat layered. that we've panned to one side. And then I've got these cool little flutters that I've kind of panned left on one and panned right on one. So if I look at them, you can kind of see that they alternate back and forth. And if we open them up together, there's kind of just a nice little call and response. And this is an easy way to make those kind of hip hop style hat rolls that you're going to hear in K-pop or trap music or hip hop or R&B. Is just use a sampler, and then what you can do is you can actually pitch these up and down a keyboard, and then you can just, copy one over to the left, cut out a couple notes, copy one over to the right, and then you've got this nice panned call and response. Here's what they sound like all together. Pretty simple, but it adds a nice little bit of movement, and here's it with the actual kick pattern and the extra snare that we've added in, just for a little bit of kind of body. The thing about K-pop that I've realized over hip-hop, because this could easily just be like a Western hip-hop song, is that a lot of the time they'll use kicks and snares and snaps that feel a lot more aggressive and a lot more EDM heavy than hip-hop heavy. And that's a big reason that this is feeling so K-pop rather than just feeling like a kind of generic Western hip-hop song, is because with this kind of clickier, punchier kick and with these kind of super blocky snaps, it doesn't really feel like it would be something like a Metro Boomin production. It definitely feels like a K-pop production. And then what we're going to do is add an 808, and this is just using a preset out of Vital called The Greatest. All of the Vital presets that we're going to use in this are from our Synergy pack. So again, it's a free synth. So if you want any of these presets, you can go download our preset bank right now for 25% off. But let's hear what this 808 sounds like. It's just kind of following the chord progression of that bass melody that we have with that first thing that we kind of did. It's really simple. It's not doing anything too wild. That's feeling pretty good for a verse. I want to add a couple synths just to kind of add some interest and some movement, but this is feeling really good to start with. So one thing I want to do to make the second half of this verse different is add this little triangle loop. Just for some backbeat. I don't want it to be super kind of loop heavy. And then for the synths, I just wanted to kind of mimic that bass melody that we have. So what I did is I kind of just found this nice little soft synth that is called the Alaska Pluck, and it's just kind of doing that exact same thing up an octave. And it just kind of adds a little bit of interest. Doing things like this where you're just kind of building layers on similar elements as the song progresses is a really good way to add dynamics. So let's go ahead and look at this other thing that I've added, which is like this filtered and delayed lead. This is a really, really cool thing to just add. It's kind of like a really distorted saw wave. And that's kind of just acting as a nice little counter melody. One thing that I wanted to add, because I find this a lot in K-pop and it's not something that we still do a lot in Western pop, is add these like trance gates behind it. It's just like these big saw chords that are basically kind of modulated with this LFO right here that's got kind of a trance gate preset on it. And it sounds like this. Kind of reminds me of like My Love by Justin Timberlake. It was used a ton in the 2000s, and it's something that I still hear used in K-pop as kind of like a back melody. It just kind of fills in this blank space where we've got such a nice bouncy little kind of bass and pluck melody, but the back end feels a little bit stale. So that feels pretty good for a verse for now. I'm probably going to flesh this out with rises and hits and transitions in just a bit. I think let's move on to a pre-chorus though, which means that we need to kind of have a completely different vibe, because one thing about K-pop is that the verse has a vibe and then the pre-chorus is normally completely different. So let me lay down some keys and I'll show you what we come up with. Okay, here's the chord progression that I've come up with for this pre-chorus. It's still in the minor key. I didn't want to go with like a major modulation, which is something that you'll hear in K-pop a lot, because I really like the kind of darker, kind of sexier ambient tones of this, but we're just using this pluck and it just kind of gives us this nice leeway where everything so far has been really bouncy and upbeat. This is kind of mellowing it out. Super distorted, like plucky lead, and then we're just layering that with a bunch of different layers. So we've got this one right here. This is called the Vintage Sampler Brass. And that's going to add a little bit of top end. And then we've got this rising sine right here, which is one of my favorite presets that I've made in a really, really long time. This is a super good preset for like R&B or just anything that you're going to want to kind of have a nice mellow pad in that doesn't have a ton of top end. And what we're doing is we're just playing some pretty basic chords. So they're not doing anything crazy. They're just triads. You could add some sevenths or some ninths if you really wanted to spice it up. But I don't know. I tried it and I wasn't really feeling it. And then we're just kind of layering that with something that is a bit more ambient as a pad. And none of these are panned. They are all just like set levelly different, but altogether it kind of makes this really nice, big, wide key sound. Now, the next thing we need to add is like some kind of respace for some low end. Maybe I'll add some arps just to give us some top end shimmer. And then I want to kind of play around with some rising kind of drums because that's something that I hear a lot in K-pop. So just to add a little bit of body to those synths that I just showed you, I'm just going to add this nice big kind of respace pad. Just to give us some kind of texture so it doesn't completely get super thin. And then another thing that I'm doing is just adding these two little arps right here. So these are just short little plucks that I've kind of drawn my own arp into. And they're just kind of rising with the synths. That feels perfect for all the synths. Let's move on to what we're doing for these drums. One thing that I hear in a lot of K-pop is like these steady claps that are very similar to what you'd hear in like an electronic song, like an EDM song. Something we don't do a lot in Western music anymore, but it's something that I definitely wanted to pull in. And then I've got this snare riser that I've pulled out. And then I've kind of made this little clap riser myself as well, just with like putting a bunch of different claps together, automating some reverb and some delay. Now, if we put all that together, we're going to get this nice pre-chorus that feels really mellow to start and then really builds up tension for a nice big chorus that we've got coming up. Now let's move on to a chorus. Again, we're going to add risers and transitions, and we're going to do some filter automation in just a bit, but I want to get the skeleton down first. Let's start with the drums for the chorus because this is really what makes a K-pop chorus, I think, feel like a chorus / drop. We've got the same kick, the same snaps, and the same hats from the verse. We're doing a slightly more busy kick pattern, so it sounds like this. And you've probably heard that we've added quite a bit of like hats and cymbals and stuff like that. So one thing that I hear in K-pop a lot is they use these really kind of metallic, almost future bass snares or claps or percussion just kind of layered over their main hit. So I've got this one. It's just a sample that I have called Metal Snare 4. It's from our Dark Pop Volume 2 pack. And then I've got this just kind of like trap snare from our hip hop pack called Popstar. And I'm kind of using that as an accent as well. Now with that layered over this kind of metallic snare and then all of these snaps that we have with this kick, it gives us a nice, big, punchy K-pop sounding snare. Now, just to take that a step farther, I've actually added these like ambient claps that have quite a bit of room and reverb kind of baked into these samples. And what I do is I'll just layer up the snares with that, just to give us a little bit of ambience. Same with this rim hit. Now we're just adding a crash, and we're adding that triangle loop that we had from the verse, and this one extra loop from our Sounds of Life pack that's kind of just got some like fun little glitches. And for the hi-hats, so the same exact hats that we had earlier, we're just making them 16th notes instead of 8 notes. And that's pretty much it. So for the drums and the percussion, here's what it's going to sound like. Super big, super fun, super modern. Now let's move on to what the bass and the 808 are going to do. I still have that bass melody from earlier, and I'm actually using it as a nice little tie-in for this. So we're going to have... And so I've actually given it a different melody right here. So we've got the 808 that's going to do kind of a... So I've got that bass melody that was kind of our lead little riff. Now I've got that copying this 808, and it gives us this nice kind of like really vibey kind of backbeat. And then what we're doing is we've got this extra kind of bass melody right here that at first I had just as a duplicate, but I kind of wanted to give this a different melody just to kind of make it stick out. So I've got this Crushing Skulls preset right here. It's like this super nice distorted top end preset. And we've actually got it doing like kind of a bit of a lead synth melody. Now let's go ahead and layer that up quite a bit with different synths, and then I'll kind of show you what the chorus sounds like. So we've got that high melody from earlier that was kind of just mimicking that bass melody. And then I kind of wanted to keep that trance arp that we had. And then what we're doing is we are just layering that little riff and melody up with a bunch of stuff. So we've got this like Wild Voices preset, which is this really cool kind of like sequenced arp that we have. Just adds a nice little bit of movement and distortion. And then we've got this like pizzicato string right here called Pizzy Party. I wanted something that had a little bit more digital sparkle, so I've got this little kind of synth over it. And so far, none of these are panned. The last one that I have that's right up the middle is this Wonderland bell. So we've got like a preset that adds a little bit of transient with that Wonderland bell, a preset that adds a little bit of shimmer with that Wimpy Sparkles. We've got that Pizzy Party that adds a nice little bit of realism. And then we've got that Wild Voice that adds a bunch of saturation and width. And then the next thing that we're doing is these are panned. So I have the creepy music box pan to the left and this like insane harpsichord pan to the right. And they're just doing this. And then the last thing is just a nice big brass hit, something that you're going to hear a lot in K-pop. Now, let's hear this, let's hear what this chorus sounds like before we do any automation or transitions. Feels pretty appropriate for a K-pop song. Let's add in those rises, hits, and transitions, and let's see what the instrumental sounds like, and then we'll add some vocals on. Okay, so I fleshed it all out. The only things that we've really added are all of these little pink things right here. They're basically rises and hits and little glitches. So we've just got some nice little like transition impacts. We've got some glitches from the Dark Pop Volume 2. We've got some impacts and risers from Dark Pop Volume 1. Just some transitions just to make everything feel a little bit more special. And what we've done is we've kind of filtered up some of these claps. We're starting to filter in that ARP just so the pre-chorus can get small and then feel really big as it kind of opens up. And then we've got all of these impacts and transitions. We did a reverse for that big brass kind of Hans Zimmer stab. And here's what the chorus sounds like now with all these transitions. So we've got these. These are really cool. It was just that brass sound printed and then reversed. And other than that, it's just kind of like a random assortment of impacts, swells, risers, glitches, just to add some extra movement and some extra interest for the listener. Let's go ahead and let's get some vocals in here so I can talk about producing vocals for K-pop. I will go ahead and say these vocals are obviously going to be in English. Unfortunately, I cannot speak Korean or Japanese or Chinese or any of the other kind of K-pop, J-pop, Chinese pop vocals that you would kind of be anticipating. But I've definitely written them in the style of all of these artists. So if I were going to pitch a K-pop track to NCT 127 or BTS, I feel like this would still be very appropriate. I've kind of mimicked a lot of their delivery and their production style. So let's check those out. Boom. Now we've got vocals all tracked up. All the vocals on this were recorded with the Lauten Audio Eden on the forward mode, going in through a AudioScape 1176 Rev D, and then going in through a Heritage Audio HA81A preamp and EQ. EQ is disengaged, so really nice vocal chain. The vocal mix on this is nothing crazy. I'll show you all that once I show you the composition. But just to start, I wanted to do some kind of like ad libs that we've panned for this intro just because I feel like that's a super K-pop thing. So while I wouldn't do it as an artist, I kind of wanted to add them in there. Let me just show you what I mean.
Let's go.
So I wanted to add something for the intro like that. And then for the verse, let me show you what we're working with here. So again, it's that Lauten Audio Eden coming in through that chain that I mentioned. We do have auto-tune on, just set to the key of the song, and then pretty fast retune speed. I found that K-pop does tune their vocals a little aggressively, and I personally really enjoy it. So I just wanted to kind of mimic that. And then other than that, we're just adding a little bit of top end, scooping some of these low mids out because I don't really need them. We've got some compression going on here with just like an Opto style LA2A. And then, I mean, that's pretty much it. A little bit more compression with RVox, a little bit more EQ with Pro Q3. And that is literally it besides de-essing. Other than that, we're just sending it to a parallel widening, which is a Roland Dimension D, a short reverb, a eighth note delay, and a long reverb. Here's what the vocal sounds like in solo.
I got the Bentley, it's a coupe. I got the blue and white Nikes with the Louis V stamped on.
Here's what the vocal sounds like with nothing on it. This was my dry vocal.
I got the Bentley, it's a coupe. I got the blue and white Nikes with the Louis V stamped on. Money out the roof.
So in the mix, let's hear what it sounds like. It's a pretty simple vocal chain. I found that a lot of the time for their kind of spoken, rapped hip-hop vocals, they'll go pretty dry, and then when they sing, they'll make them pretty compressed, pretty aggressive, and pretty roomy. So we're gonna have this just tucked right into the mix.
I got the Bentley, it's a coupe. I got the blue and white Nikes with the Louis V stamped on. Money out the roof.
Now, let's talk about some of these ad-libs because there are quite a bit. So K-pop groups are always more than one person typically. So what I wanted to do is as we go through this, you'll hear that I sang this in a few different styles to kind of mimic that. But then another thing that I wanted to do is include some of these ad-libs. So a lot of the time there's like 3 different ad-libs happening at once. So you'll hear an ad-lib pan to the left, you'll hear an ad-lib pan to the right, and then you'll hear a big delay throw.
I got the Bentley, it's a coupe. I got the blue and white Nikes with the Louis V stamp, throwing money out the roof. I'm throwing dollars.
This one we even have 3 ad-libs.
The roof. I'm throwing dollars. If you need me, you can find me in the VIP booth.
So we've got all of those ad-libs happening. Another thing that I did is just to thicken this, I added my artificial low vocal. I do it all the time. Just tune this down an octave and auto-tune right here with transpose, and then throw on the doubler on the 4 voices preset, turn it down like 8-9 dB, and boom, we're good. Adds a nice little bit of width and texture to my vocal. The next thing that we're doing is just this kind of like call and response. So I'll let you hear it in the context. It's kind of one vocal up the middle, and then we've got these like stacked vocals for different words and harmonies.
I got the Bentley, it's a coupe. I got the blue and white Nikes with the Louis V stamp, throwing money out the roof. I'm throwing dollars, dollars. If you need me, you can find me in the VIP booth.
So that's something that K-pop does a lot, is they just stack specific words and phrases. So you can hear it right here with like dollars, dollars. Just sang it in falsetto. It's super rough, but it works. And then we've got this.
I'm throwing dollars, dollars.
Just to add some width to kind of compete with those falsettos. So here's what it sounds like.
I'm throwing dollars, dollars. If you need me, you can find me in the VIP booth.
And then another thing that they'll do is they'll have a couple members kind of like yell a harmony or a melody over it. So that's what we've did for this. So here's the first half of this verse.
I got the Bentley, it's a coupe. I got the blue and white Nikes with the Louis V stamp, throwing money out the roof. I'm throwing dollars, dollars. If you need me, you can find me in the VIP booth. I'll give you a key to the penthouse when I come.
Now, as I said, K-pop is going to have multiple vocalists typically. So we're going on to vocalist number 2 right here. That's kind of that specific person who has a really low, deep voice that's going to do kind of a hip hop thing. And so we've got this lead vocal.
I'll give you a key to the penthouse when I come around, we'll turn the lights out.
And then I've just got that stacked left and right, and these left and right are actually pretty audible.
I'll give you a key to the penthouse when I come around, we'll turn the lights out.
That's something that I hear a lot in K-pop is typically when they have like that low, really punchy kind of hip-hop forward vocalist, they're going to stack that vocal really wide and really heavy. And I think that it just adds a nice little bit of texture. So let's hear it in the mix.
I'll give you a key to the penthouse when I come around, we'll turn the lights out. Take it to the bedroom and you'll find out why they call me Tyson, I'll go 9 rounds.
So as you heard, we have these like yeah, yeah, yeah stacks. That's just a nice little another call and response that you'd hear in K-pop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just saying the same thing 4 times, added that artificial low vocal. The next part that we're going to talk about is this kind of pre-chorus where we have that kind of beat switch. So we've got this lead vocal up the middle. And again, this one's going to be a little bit more wet. We have this going to a quarter note delay. We're driving the long reverb up and we're driving the parallel widening reverb up. And we're compressing these a little bit harder.
I've got eyes for you. Baby, say the word and we can rendezvous.
So I've got a lead throughout the whole thing. And we are duplicating the lead melody. So I'm singing it 3 separate times. I sing it once for the middle, I sing it once for the left, and I sing it once for the right. And then I'm going to pan one to the right, pan one to the left, and have one in the center. And you get this nice wide vocal. Keep in mind that you can't just duplicate your lead vocal and pan it over. You're going to phase and cancel out, and it's just going to be up the middle, but louder and kind of phasey. So if you want these nice, big, wide K-pop or kind of Western pop style vocals, make sure that you record it several different times. You can see vocal take 29, vocal take 25, vocal take 27. So these are 3 separately recorded vocals.
I've got eyes for you. Baby, say the word and we can rendezvous.
And then I've also got a harmony going throughout. I noticed that when they get to their like really pretty vocal section, they love a harmony. And so I just carried one throughout the whole thing. So again, track 2 separate times, one pan like 80% left, one pan like 80% right.
I've got eyes for you. Baby, say the word and we can rendezvous. I'll fly you out to Tokyo. I'll cover you in Cartier. Diamonds rain, private planes, it don't cost a thing.
So that's the vocals that we have for this pre-chorus, and then we've just got that artificial low vocal that we talked about earlier continuing. Let's hear this as the kind of production builds around it.
Take it to the bedroom and you'll find out why they call me Tyson, I'll go 9 rounds. I've got eyes for you. Baby, say the word and we can rendezvous. I'll fly you out to Tokyo. I'll cover you in Cartier. Diamonds rain, private planes, it don't cost a thing. I can treat you like a queen. Baby, come home with me.
All right, let's get to our kind of quintessential K-pop hook or drop. And a lot of the time, I actually got this tip from Alina from Lyre Music. Y'all might know her. She's one of my really, really good friends. She crushes it in K-pop. So if you like this video and if you want to see more K-pop stuff, go check out Alina's channel because she works in the style a ton. She has a ton of K-pop cuts. And when we talked to her on our podcast a few months ago, one of the things that she said is when she's pitching for K-pop is for a hook, they want a really simple phrase that is repeated a lot. And it's something that people who primarily speak Korean could translate to English because a lot of the time they'll do these in English so their Western market will kind of catch on. You hear it a lot with like Blackpink, you hear it a lot with like BTS. A lot of the time that they have a hook, it is sung in English and it's a simple phrase. So I feel like even if I place this with a K-pop group, they would keep this as is because it's so simple and it's kind of just internationally translated. So we've just got the line, baby come home with me. And so I've got it up the middle right here.
So baby, come home with me.
So it's just that lead vocal chain that we have, but I've thrown on tape by Baby Audio to give us quite a bit of saturation. And then I'm just filtering out the low and the high end, doing some band passing so it's not insane. And then I've got this 910 harmonizer by Eventide just to widen this out a little bit, but still give us a nice clear vocal up the middle. So here's what that sounds like.
So baby, come home with me.
And then I've got that same thing pitched up an octave. And then I've got the same thing sang twice, just panned out left and right.
So baby, come home with me.
I did them an octave lower just to kind of build it up, and then we've got them at the same octave as the lead.
So baby, come home with me.
So we have a nice, big, consistent vocal. A lot of the time for like the kind of shouted parts like this, you're gonna wanna go with something that's pretty stacked and pretty wide because again, if a K-pop group has 4 or 6 or even 8 members, a lot of the time they are all joining in for that chorus or that drop. So this is a really good time to introduce harmonies, introduce yelling, introduce kind of like gang vocals. So we've kind of gotten that here. And then we've just kind of let it carry it out with a kind of delay throw. So for the delay throw, it's super simple. We've just literally got repeater on like a quarter note on the DM2 setting. Here are all of the settings if you want to copy it. It's nothing special.
So baby, come home with me.
And that is pretty much the entire production and top line. Again, I couldn't sing this in Korean, unfortunately. Maybe for a future video, though, I'll be able to kind of collaborate and partner with somebody who is a K-pop vocalist. But for now, this is what we've got. Let's go ahead and let's give this a full listen through so you can kind of hear what the song sounds like. Again, all of these synth sounds in this are from our new Vital Pack Synergy. So if you want to check out Synergy, head over to makepopmusic.com and check that out. We are super, super excited to launch that, and you can get it for 25% off right now. With that said, let's check out the song.
Let's go. I got the Bentley, it's a coupe. I got the blue and white Nikes with the Louis V stamp, throwing money out the roof. I'm throwing dollars. If you need me, you can find me in the VIP booth. I'll give you a key to the penthouse. When I come around, we'll turn the lights out. Take it to the bedroom and you'll find out why they call me Tyson. I'll go 9 rounds. I've got eyes for you. Baby, say the word and we can rendezvous. I'll fly you out to Tokyo. I'll cover you in Cartier. Diamonds rain, private planes, it don't cost a thing. I can treat you like a queen. So baby, come home with me. So baby, come home with me. So baby, come home with me. So baby, come home with me.
And there you have it. That is how to produce a K-pop song in the style of artists like NCT 127, BTS, Lisa, EXO. I had a really, really, really good time making this. This is something that I don't typically do a lot. So if you like this video, please let us know. If you want to see us make any other kind of K-pop subgenres like Twice or like ITZY or some of the more kind of poppy R&B BTS stuff, let us know in the comments down below. We can definitely do a follow-up to this and kind of a different subgenre. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We do videos like this every single week. Also, please make sure that you go shop our spring sale at makepopmusic.com. Again, 25% off of everything, including preset packs, sample packs. We've got MIDI packs up there, and we have a 14.5-hour start to finish production course where I show you everything that I do for a production in real time. We don't cut out literally anything. You can even see us handle like how we handle clients, how we handle invoices, contracts, how we handle consultation calls. We even have a group where you can share your own work and get feedback from me in real time. So if you want to do all of that, now is the time to go check all of that out because the entire store is 25% off until the end of April 10th. So go check that out. We really, really appreciate all of your support. It helps us kind of do this kind of thing every single week for you guys on the YouTube channel. But that's going to do it for this video. We'll see you guys next week with much more content. But until then, much love, everyone. Peace.